Well, it's time for episode 255 of the 3 Point Podcast, presented by the Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center and Skymint Cannabis. Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center, man, that place is just awesome. Included in your Wellness Center membership is the use of all their exercise equipment, the Sky Track, where you can walk, jog, or run around the track and have excellent views from throughout the campus. I tell you what, I like kind of getting in there in the morning right before daybreak. It's kind of cool to have the sunrise over the horizon while you're walking around the track. It's really a very neat thing.
That is cool. And a part of it, I know I always jump in in the middle of your open, but
that's all right. That's what it's freelance, man.
I'm sure we're going to hear about Jared's boot camp, his you know, what he's doing out there on the West Coast. He's rocking the Suns hat, so he's all in on Phoenix right now. But talking about working out in the morning, there's something to just getting up and getting it in.
Yeah.
Because the times that you're like, you know what, I got a couple things to do, and then I'll go do it around 11 o'clock or noon. Next thing you know, it's noon, and you're like, I can't fit it in. And then you'd end up not doing it. Get up, get it in, you're done.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a great way to get the endorphins going for the rest of the day, you know, get you all fired up and ready to rock. You know, and as part of it, you get your workout in, then you go sit in the sauna or the steam room. It's all good. Skymint Cannabis. Farm to stash, grown right here in Michigan, over 15 locations throughout the state. Just a great company. If you're over 21, go online at skymint.com. Check out all the great latest deals and sign up for the rewards program. Gift cards available, all kinds of discounts, and use that coupon code at the Corona store, 3.20 for 20% off Skymint products. Also, our local partners include AZEE Printing Solutions, Capital Sports Fieldhouse, Crow Real Estate and Auction, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. By the way, fellas, with AZEE Printing Solutions, you know, I'm going to be maybe doing some things down the road. The three of us might be doing some special things. I had them, they're working on putting together a nice 3-Point Podcast banner with our logo right in the middle.
Oh, cool.
It looks sweet, the markup I saw. So I'm looking forward to getting that.
Nice. Are you using that for those, the radio, like the radio calls that you do, the 3PP production radio calls?
Yeah, that's what I figured. I'd use that. Cool. And then if we do any other things out there, out in the public, we have something, you know, to use. And Jared, I know everybody is just anxious to hear about what's been going on in Arizona. Why don't you get us rolling?
So I see the lights are on. The lights are on, so you're not doing an Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat.
Yeah,
he's got the TV on. I'm sure
he's mid retreat right now, I believe. As am I. So I'll just start with before I even got here. I tell you what, the airport flying. Every time I do it, I swear I'll never do it again. It makes me lose all hope for humanity every time I step on an airplane. I mean, so I sat in the very back of this plane. And for whatever reason, I kid you not, for this apparently an extra 30 minutes to this flight, 4 hours and 45-minute flight, because we were flying into a headwind, there was a line to this bathroom. I've never seen anything like it on an airplane. There is a 4 or 5 person line just lined up in the aisleway this entire flight. How hard is it to turn around, see that there is a line, and just wait for it to clear out? Believe me, you can wait another 5 minutes. You're not going to die. The line will eventually slow down, and you're not going to be standing, leaning on my chair, waking me up, bumping my shoulder every time you're standing there, walking by. It just irritates me every freaking time. Another thing that really irritates me on airplanes, a lot of complaints off the start, the snack. People, we flew on at 9 o'clock. The people sitting right next to me, man, they had a whole boxed lunch. This is like something Ted would do. Whole boxed lunch for a 4-hour flight at 9 a.m. getting to Arizona at noon. Sandwiches, chips, Cokes. Why? You can't go 4 hours without eating. Seriously, if you want to pack a granola bar or something, yeah, go ahead, knock yourself out a full freaking meal for a 4-hour flight at 9 a.m. It was enough to drive me crazy. One more thing on the flight experience. I maybe talked to some guy who was the most perplexed and confused guy in the entire world. So he was sitting in my row. So I had to get out. And like I said, I sit in the back of the plane. So rather than just go sit back down for 2 seconds, I was like, I'll just wait for this guy to get out of the bathroom. I'll stand in the back of the plane for 2 seconds. As we walk back there, one of the bathrooms is occupied. One of them is not. The door says lavatory. This guy sitting here staring at the door with the green light on it and basically waiting in a line for a ghost in this bathroom. To the point I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's nobody in there. You go ahead and go in there. He like analyzes this door again, looks it up and down, like, doesn't go in. So finally, I was just like, I kind of got to go. I'm just gonna go in front of this guy. So I just go to the bathroom. And I think the reason this was a problem is because the bathroom door said lavatory instead of just bathroom. I mean, no fault for this guy. He seems like a nice enough guy, but for whatever reason, that word just was so foreign to him that he did not want to risk walking in there for probably fear that the entire plane would explode if he opened up that door. So it was just a funny little minute interaction that has stuck with me this entire trip, man. But hopefully he kind of figured out that is the word lavatory is in fact another word for bathroom. So that kind of wrapped up my flight journey. Where do you guys stand on flights? I don't know how you do it. Ted, you fly all the time for your job. It sounds like hell, man.
It depends. You get some hellish flights, but usually I kind of got it down, and I don't have any nerves whatsoever. And when I get on the plane, I have the headphones in because I really don't want to make small talk with my seatmate next to me. So even if I'm listening to something or not, I'm kind of ignoring them. But I just sit there. I usually try to get the window seat unless it's a cross country flight. Then I like the aisle, but I snooze it out before the plane even takes off. I'm out.
I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised that you pull the earbuds, even if you're listening or not, to ignore your seatmate, because I figured you'd be chatting them up, talking and telling some stories and stuff. But I'm kind of down the middle. Like it depends on what's going on. I'm not against talking to someone, but there are definitely those flights that you're just like, I want to sit down. I don't want to interact with anybody. I just want to sleep, all that. The whole box lunch thing. There are certain things that like, unwritten rules. I don't know if you want to say unwritten rules or just like being courteous of everyone else on the plane. And one
tuna
of them
fish
is,
sandwich, one of them.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, if you're gonna bring food from a restaurant or wherever that's in the airport, be cognizant of what it smells like, because the people that get like a big old nasty tuna fish sandwich or some food that just reeks up the whole plane. It really is. I understand if you're hungry, that's fine, but it's like, how are you eating like an egg salad sandwich on an airplane that's going to make the whole thing smell like a fart? And it's just like, this is nasty. So, it's small stuff like that. It's like, I get everyone, you might be hungry. Okay, cool. Get some food. But think about the 50, 70 other people on this plane.
Well, people just have no shame.
The other part with that, real quick, Jared, the other part, everyone's different. Everyone's bowels, everyone's digestive system is different. I can't imagine if you're on a 4-hour flight like you were, Jared, eating a full-on meal like that. I don't want to risk having to sprint to the bathroom or something like that and holding everyone up for 20 minutes in there. I just wanted something light to get me to my destination, and then I'll get some food.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know if it's the smell. The thing about the whole box lunch thing, it was not necessarily that it smelled bad. It was just like how long it took them to get it prepared. They got to bring out the lunchbox and they got to unzip it, dig through it, hand this old lady the one sandwich, grab his sandwich, hand the chips, and then they're eating it for the next 30 minutes. It's like, you really just can't wait 2 hours to get off this plane. Another little pet peeve I noticed while I was on the plane, the people that are kind of like, let's say you get separated from your, wife or these other people that are going on the trip with you, and they feel the need to come and like check in with you like once an hour. Come stand next to you, talk to you. The guy literally was leaning on my seat as he's talking to this person next to me because he's got to check in with them. They're going to be fine. Guess what? If they're not going to be fine, you're not going to be fine either. So they'll be fine. Just sit in your seat and shut up, man. So I think the thing is, and I kind of thought about this as well, everything was irritating me. Maybe it's like a Shutter Island scenario where I'm the crazy person and I think everybody else around me is crazy, when in actuality I'm the true crazy person. But as for the actual,
maybe you're just really already getting really set in your ways.
Yeah.
If you're going to travel, you just want it to be a car ride up north to, your Ted Fattel, your Fattel family reunion. You just want something like that, not a cross country flight,
Well, and I mean, we don't even have to talk about it, but you guys know that as soon as the plane lands and you got the police stand right up in the middle of the lane, I mean, there's no hope. You'll never stop that problem. So I guess you just deal with it. Everybody's bitched about it enough, but I don't even need to talk about that.
Two quick comments before you get into your boot camp recap. Number one, apparently it didn't mellow you out any, obviously, since this whole plane trip still got you riled up. And number two, at least never dropped a deuce in the bathroom on a plane. And those people that do, I feel sorry for them. That's all I can say.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do sometimes, and that's why I stay away from. I'm not eating like Taco Bell before I get on a plane. You got to be strategic with what you eat.
Absolutely. Well, Jared, fill us in. Are you in tip-top shape? You got to continue it on?
I feel great, man. I got here. To be honest, today's the first day I felt great. I've been working out 6 a.m. every day. Puked the first 3 days I was here right after my workouts. Just felt horrible, man. And then yesterday was kind of like the final like hell day where I woke up and I just had a migraine from hell. Had shivers, migraine, felt like I was going to die. Apparently it's a symptom of some sort of sugar withdrawal that I'm dealing with. So
I was gonna ask, is changing your diet part of the boot camp too?
Oh, I haven't ate anything but meat and veggies here. That's it.
Yeah.
No carbs.
Black coffee. Nothing. Yeah, nothing bad whatsoever. And so I just have been grinding out these workouts, and you feel a lot better immediately. I mean, but one thing I will say, outside of the fact that now I'm done puking, I feel a lot better. It's embarrassing realizing like how far, like I feel like I'm lifting the same amount of weight I lifted when I was like a fifth grader. Like now that I'm hopping back on these weight racks, I'm not even going to share the numbers, man, but it's literally like about the amount of weight I lifted when I was in like fifth grade. So that was a bit of a wake up call. But Ted, you weren't kidding. Now that I'm back in the gym life, I mean, these boomers, they have no shame, man. I mean, they're full frontal everywhere you go in that locker room, sauna, locker room, pool, hot tub. I mean, they just let it fling, man. So I don't know if that's a boomer thing, but I will say this: I only noticed boomers doing it. So maybe it's something with your generation. I don't know what they were taught, but
100% is, Jared, because I thought it was kind of, after looking back at it growing up, we had, you just went in the shower and that's the way it was. And then I think your age group, maybe a little before you some of your nephews, even in middle school, you'd wear a bathing suit in the shower after phys ed. That's definitely something that is your generation,
I think it's probably gone in waves. I think there's part of, you talk about like whether it's with the things you say, like certain language or whatever, like if kids, babies use certain language, it's like cute, funny, but then you get to an age where you're like, yeah, that's not acceptable. And then you get old enough to where it's back to being funny again because you're like old and senile. Maybe that's the same with being nude in a locker room. If a little kid is, it's like, oh, look at their little tushy. Oh, that's cute. So, like Jared and I's age, it's like, yeah, maybe throw a towel on.
Right.
You get up past 60, 65, then you just don't care.
That's what's weird about it. It's not like I've I think that's maybe an exaggeration a bit of the whole swimsuit thing. Hey, I got no problem with you doing the shower, man. It's just the fact like they'll get out of the shower and they'll just be bare butt on the bench, just full legs spread, like talking to their buddy. And it's, I don't understand it. I really don't. Just throw on a towel. That's all.
Absolutely. I agree.
So I got to ask, so the boot camp thing, so you're kind of you're maybe getting through that first stage, over the hump type of thing. Is your brother setting you up like basically with a plan for, when you get back to Michigan, like, are you just going to kind of wing it when you get back? Is that something you're going to continue?
I mean, that's the goal. Yeah. This was all for nothing if I don't. It's what a lot of people, it's a lot of what, college programs and it's called the, Jim Wendler, which basically it's, you do five, like 1 week you do all sets of 5, the next week you do sets of 3, then you do sets of, a set of 1, and then you kind of, it ups your numbers. You type it all into a spreadsheet. It calculates everything for you. And then a few auxiliary lifts as well. So yeah, it's the same thing we did in high school. Kyle Robinson brought it to Corona, and it's simple. You don't overthink it. You get your core lifts in, and you kind of move on. It takes the thinking out of lifting. Right. You always I don't know how people do it where they just walk into a gym not knowing what they're going to do that day. Just got to have some sort of set plan. That's always been rule number 1, 2, and 3.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it helps to know what you're doing. First of all, that's why I always think the people, there's that whole Jared, I'm sure you're aware of this guy. He's become fairly famous on TikTok and social media, Joey Swole.
Yep.
Have you come across his videos, Jared?
Yeah, I've seen him.
So he's a huge bodybuilder. Ted, you could look him up. I know you're on TikTok, but his whole mission is to get people in the gym, to take away the negative cloud around gym culture and stuff like that. Try and get people into the gym that are maybe scared because they don't know what to do. They don't want to look stupid, or they don't want to look like a fool trying to use these machines or whatever. So I think kind of like the point I'm trying to make is like there is something to that, Jared. If you want to work out, great, go first of all, but also like figure out what you want to do, because you don't want to go there and be like, I'm going to step on the treadmill for 10 minutes and then let me wander around and see what this machine does. Next thing you know, you're there for an hour and you haven't even done anything, So figure out some sort of program. And it doesn't have to be some crazy professional thing that you pay $200 a month for or something. There's so much free stuff, out there anymore. Like just look up some simple beginner workouts or, whatever can get you in there. So, and I know your brother obviously knows what he's doing. So I'm sure he's setting you up and, you got it going. So you're over that first part. So now you just keep it going.
Yeah, it's like the only motivation is, man, I don't want to go through these withdrawal symptoms again. I kid you not. It literally felt like I was like going through a drug withdrawal for a couple days.
Oh, I did
doing these workouts.
I think I maybe talked about it. It's been 2 years ago now. There's this, it's not a diet. It's like supposed to be a lifestyle change. Kind of a cleanse. It's called the Whole 30. For 30 days, you kind of cut out junk basically. And one of the things is sugar. Right. And honestly, after that first week, basically what you're going through, Jared, of going no sugar, I felt like I had the worst flu in the world. I felt like hell, death for like 3 days. And to the point where I was like, what is happening to me? I ended up looking up. Yeah, sugar withdrawal is one of the biggest things, when you do stuff like this. So yeah, I'm sure that's what you're getting. when you go from having sugar and then boom, you just cut it straight out of your diet.
A lot of sugar, man. Usually like a Big Mac or McDonald's every night. Yeah, then you just cut it cold turkey. It's like your body, it's like feeding it healthy food. It's like it wants to like rip yourself apart. It doesn't know what to do with the food. So yeah, that's a wrap. But other than that, man, I've just kind of been relaxing, enjoying some good sports. I mean, we kind of talked a little bit off the pod. I mean, we had a couple big sporting events this weekend, dunk contest, Michigan State All-Star game going on tonight. The 2-hour time delay that you're on here on the mountain time, it's incredible. It's the perfect change from East Coast time for sports. Yeah. I mean, think about the Michigan State game started for us here at 6:00 yesterday. The dunk contest started at 8:00. It's right. Perfect, man. It's perfect. Yeah.
I know. I remember hearing Colin Cowherd talk about it a few times back when I used to listen to him. I don't anymore, but he's out in LA, and he would always talk about how much better it is out there for sports because, yeah, those, think about NFL game, like Sunday night football that doesn't kick off until whatever time, Monday night football, you got to struggle to stay awake. You're on the West Coast. It's fine. The only thing that would be weird to me is like noon for us, East Coast, noon kickoff football games being at 9 a.m. That'd be like kind of strange, right. Especially if you want to wake up and tailgate or something. It's like, how do you do that? Right. But I guess, most teams on the West Coast don't play noon games. But I mean, like if you were a Michigan fan and you're wanting to watch a Michigan game and you got to watch them at 9 a.m., that'd be kind of strange. But
set up a brunch, man. Get that brunch going.
Yeah. I guess you tailgate after the game, maybe.
There you go. The only thing
Ted, you've got something coming up, Ted, right? Jared's on vacation. Ted's about to go somewhere, apparently.
Things have been flying here, guys. On a depressing note, my dad, his health right now is not the best, so we're dealing with some health issues with him at the moment. But on a more positive note, Amy's going to have my granddaughter number 4, and it looks like the date has been moved up because I put my wife on a plane today to go out to DC, and I'm on hold. As soon as I hear, hey, she's heading into the hospital to give birth. She had quite a long labor last time, and as soon as I get that word, I'm just hopping in the car and heading out to DC, and Lana will ride back home with me on the way home. But yeah, it's exciting. Little Bailey. Coming up,
number 4, and it's 4. All girls, right? All granddaughters,
all girl daughters, all girl granddaughters. So,
what is your obsession with driving to a lot of these places? I mean, you make bank, man. Why are you not flying out?
Well, number one, it doesn't matter on the bank, Jared, but I just have always liked to have control over my schedule. If I want to drive at 4 a.m., I can, and once I get there, I got my vehicle. I can just hop around instead of renting a car. I don't really have an obsession over 12 hours. That's always been my cutoff, even as a sales guy. If it's anywhere from 10 to 12 hours, it's iffy on whether I'll fly or not. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just driving. That's it.
It's all, I mean, and you can find deals on flights, but it is pretty pricey to fly depending on where you're going and everything. So that's part of it too, I bet.
Absolutely. Well, that's good catch up, fellas. And I don't, unless you got something to add, Matt.
Not really. I mean, you guys are making me think about, I've got a Disney trip coming up at the end of March. So you just got me looking forward to that. All this talk about travel and everything. But, no, that's down the road.
Make it there. That's one of those places it's on my list. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I got to go there. I went there when I was a kid. Don't remember a whole lot about it.
It's magical.
But it seems like a blast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to get the girlfriend to go there. Do a little date weekend down at Disney.
Yeah, there's adult stuff to do there too. Yeah. All right, guys, we'll continue the podcast, and our next segment will be the Prep Spotlight presented by Capital Sports Fieldhouse, and we'll get that going right after this. All right, fellas, I'm going to start it off this week with some wrestling recaps. The wrestling individual regional championships took place recently, and Owosso 113-pound star Talon Parson, defending state champ, by the way, improved to 47-0 in Division III. We got some great wrestlers in our area. Corunna's Xavier Anderson, he won at 157. He now is 50-5 on the season. Duran's Darren Allward, 41-0 at 165. And New Lothrop's Grayson Orr and Davin Lockwood got Division IV crowns at 285 and 120. The question I have for you guys, we all played basketball, but in like junior high days, phys ed, did you ever get on the mats and get a taste of it?
Never, nothing official, but I had so many like good friends that wrestled. I screwed around with them, whether it was at parties or a couple friends actually had mats in their houses and, messing around, stuff like that. And that was enough of a taste to make me say, I'm going to stick to basketball. But there is something to, I think we've talked about wrestling. There is something to it. That is a really cool sport if you can really dedicate yourself to it.
It's exciting too.
Yeah. I wrestled one year in 7th grade. I wrestled. I went 4-4. I had a 4-4 record. What I've always said about wrestling, it's the most tired I've ever been in a sporting event. That very first match I had, I was so gassed. Like I couldn't even fathom. Like it was like this past, last couple of days at the gym, man. That's how I felt. And I remember one kind of funny story is St. John's at the time, I think they still are. They were like a nationally ranked program. And we were just like this lowly Corunna wrestling team, maybe 10 guys. I was kind of doing it just for the heck of it. No, didn't really care much. Didn't practice too hard in practice. And we had like a dual meet with them. And they had, I kid you not, probably 60 guys on their team doing this whole, like, imagine like the New Zealand rugby, like warm up, like you're warming up on the other side of the mat watching this. And how wrestling goes is you kind of you start going through the match and you get called up when you're on deck. And you could see who you're going up against.
Oh, yeah.
And the match kept going. I hadn't heard my name yet. Finally, our head coach, Mark Clough, RIP, called me over. I don't know if he loved me. I don't know if he was a fan of me or what, but I think maybe he could sense how terrified I was. And he's like, hey, yeah, I know they got 60 guys, but just couldn't find the right match for you tonight. So you're off. I kid you not, dude. It was like I just won the Super Bowl. I was so happy. So, yeah, wrestling's a great sport, man.
Wow. Well, my one experience with it was in 8th grade phys ed. Picture this. This is so embarrassing. So I won my first couple matches, and then when you made it to the championship bouts, it was right in front of the whole school, whole junior high. It was like an assembly thing. And I went out to wrestle this kid in my class, and I was on my back before you knew it. My nuts were hanging out of my black gym shorts we used to wear. Used to have the short shorts. And I had to do the walk of shame off the mat. And that was my last experience in wrestling.
You guys wrestled in phys ed in gym class?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, it's weird. That's a classic unit. You guys used to have some weird units, man. The pool unit, that unit. I forgot the best part of this St. John's story. We had like our top wrestler, Luke Cortez, like heavyweight.
I remember him.
I remember watching him like one of the first matches, goes up against the St. John's kid. And gets like Undertaker, like basically like Bane, like versus Batman, gets like broken over this guy's knee. And I just remember like everybody looking at each other on the bench, like, oh God, we are in for one tonight, boys. But yeah, like I said, luckily I got out of that one. So
man. Well, that's it in wrestling. A couple quick things in basketball. Corunna earned and Flint Metro League Stars tri-championship, beating Brandon on Friday night. Wyatt Bauer on 19, Braylon Socha 18. Lake Fenton did the Cavaliers a big favor, knocking off Goodrich. So 3-way tie for the championship in the Flint Metro. Langsburg, they improved to 18-0 as Xander Woodruff's 28 led the Wolfpack past Bath, and Duran beat New Lothrop in M. Maction as the teams combined for 24 triples. That's a fun night to watch if you're seeing 3-pointers rain in all over the place.
Do you know what district you're going to be covering? Is it going to be Lanesburg and Ovid Elsie's, or going to be Corona's district once the time?
One of the two. It's one of the two. It's a kind of a toss up because station ownership's going to go where he can sell it, and both districts, have local teams that we do a lot of advertising on. So I'll know more when we get to the end of the month, but I don't know for sure yet. So
you had to pick which one do you want to
do? Part of me wants to say Langsburg, but the way I look at it, I'd probably rather do the Chesanine one with Chesanine, Duran, Corona, Flint, Hamady, and then if Langsburg continues to roll, then we'll just shift over to them for the regionals. That's probably what we'll be looking at.
Both pretty good options, though, that's for sure.
Absolutely. All right, fellas, that's the Prep Spotlight presented by Capital Sports Fieldhouse, and we'll be back with our sports potpourri right after this.
All right, fellas. What a game. I tell you what, college basketball, it's finally kind of starting to come into full season here. Teams are starting to look better. I mean, what a totally different day and night game from that first Michigan State game where it was like 40-40 to this past weekend where both teams were kind of putting up some points and shooting well from the field. I mean, it was a fun game. The crowd was obviously, it was, kind of a unique environment with everything that's been going on at Michigan State the last week and, all the honoring and all that, the pregame ceremony. And on top of that, they also honored the 2013 team at halftime. It was a fun team to watch. Michigan finally kind of pulled through in the fourth quarter, or not fourth quarter, but in the final, 5 minutes or so when they needed to. And I'm just excited to see if they can put something together down the stretch. This team is definitely still very flawed. I felt like Michigan State was getting great looks the whole game and just maybe wasn't making them, especially going into the second half. Michigan was kind of pulling teeth on offense, but they found a way to win it. And that's what you have to do. I mean, Dickinson was frustrating to watch in the first half, definitely kind of picked it up in the second half, hit a huge three, which we all loved. But yeah, I'm just excited to see what this team can do down the stretch and if they have what it takes to, maybe make a tournament run.
Yeah, that was definitely the game that it wasn't perfect. It's not like Michigan looked amazing, but you saw like, okay, this is what we hoped they would be, kind of balanced scoring. It stinks that Jet Howard ended up getting hurt. Hopefully it's not too serious, but you saw Dickinson, Bufkin, even the freshmen, Doug and Reed came in and had some big minutes. Joey Baker has some big shots. So it was kind of like even, in a group text that we have, Cheddar was getting a lot of hate, but he came up with some big plays. He's just kind of like a do it all, get some dirty plays, junkyard dog type of guy. But that was the type of game that made you, and Jared, you mentioned in that text, those are both very below average teams. Yes, we love Michigan and Michigan State, the rivalry and everything. And it was a great game, but it was like, okay, neither of these teams are really all that good, going forward in March. Yeah. But it made you think like, this is what we thought Michigan would be. You got Dickinson obviously as like the centerpiece, and then hopefully these other guys, Bufkin, Jet Howard, and if there's whoever else steps up, we were like, this is the team that could make a little bit of noise. Now they've just dug themselves into probably too deep of a hole to maybe even give themselves a chance to make the tournament, unless they if they run the table and win 2 or 3 games in the Big Ten tournament, I bet they'll get in. But they really have like this game, Michigan, this is probably their signature win over Michigan State, and it's not really that impressive of a win. So,
well, I think it took Jared's guy Juwan maybe to figure it out a little bit. I think the roster, they have some decent talent on that team, and when he put the 2 bigs in there for a significant amount of time, I mean, Reed, he can't hit a free throw to save his life, but man, he had a nice game, and you put him in there with Dickinson, play the 2 bigs down low, and then they have the other 3 around the perimeter, whoever you're going to have out there. Maybe he figured something out there. I'd play this Reed kid more with Dickinson.
Yeah, they've tried that a couple other times, and it was earlier in the season. So maybe Reed's a true freshman, so maybe just taking him a while to get into shape, or however you want to say it. But I think that's definitely almost the way you got to roll. It's not like all of a sudden like they figure something out, they're going to make a run to the Final Four,
right?
But it's like nothing else has worked the rest of the season, so yeah, roll with the two big guys and they can feed off of each other. And then you hope that they're knocking down shots, which they were, the other night. So, Michigan State obviously has been through a lot, very probably emotional game to even go out there and play. But they're kind of in the same boat. I mean, they've got a couple other decent wins. They're probably going to figure out a way to get into the tournament. But, I mean, I think they're at 500 in the Big Ten right now. So they need to finish the season strong, win a few games in the Big Ten tournament if they want to make the NCAA tournament. So both Michigan and Michigan State right now are in, kind of interesting positions. I did see a stat. It's kind of crazy. Juwan, since he's been at Michigan, he's 0-4 at Breslin versus Michigan State, 4-0 at Crisler versus Michigan State. So it's like, you think about those Michigan State games at Breslin, and it makes you like, oh, geez, Juwan's just out of his league. But then he's 4-0 against Michigan State at Crisler. So it's like, okay, so maybe it's not that bad. So these teams have just been split the last 4 years.
You notice the difference in like the home versus away. I mean, Michigan State had like 3 tomahawk dunks that would have lit the Breslin Center on fire and probably would have led to like a 20-point victory for Michigan State. But then once at the Crisler, just the dunk happens, you kind of just move on with the game, and the next play occurs. If I'm a State fan, I'm really frustrated with this team. I mean, we talked about it before. Michigan, at least you could have like the excuse like, yeah, they're young. Buffkin's young. Reed's young. They're kind of still learning. Juwan's still a pretty new coach. Michigan State, this is supposed to be a year that you're supposed to be really kind of stepping into your own. I mean, especially what we saw at the start of the year. We're like, oh, they're playing tough Gonzaga. They're playing tough against Kentucky. They're looking good. Good guards. They have athletes, as we could see from them throwing down, 3 of the best dunks you've seen in college basketball this year last night. It's just frustrating. I don't know what the deal is with that team. Hauser kind of finally showed a little bit of something, but it wasn't enough. Tyson Walker was getting ate up by freshman Doug McDaniel.
Man, he had a game.
Izzo is losing his mind on the bench. It just a senior head coach like that. You would expect more from that team. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you guys not notice? It seemed like Michigan State, and maybe this is a credit to Izzo, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, seemed like they were getting great looks. The offense was flowing. Yeah. They're getting great looks. They're just not very good. Right. Michigan, on the other hand, was doing double screens. It looked like it was like they're pulling their teeth every possession to try to get to the free throw line or get one little simple bucket. Whereas Michigan State was flawless, but yet they lost by 10. It's just It was a perplexing game if I'm a State fan.
Yeah,
I think that's part of it. Michigan is so bad defensively. I mean, they're just like they're so killer. Bad. They don't have like one of those lockdown Xavier Simpson, Charles Matthews, type of individual defender. And it seems like teams figured out, oh, let's bring Hunter Dickinson out of the paint, like in a pick and roll, and no one's going to help. Get him away from the basket, and it's going to be a wide open layup every single time. And it seems like that's what Michigan State was doing over and over. Or they would kick it out for an open 3. So it was like, yeah, Michigan State's offense really was getting everything they wanted. They just, turned the ball over some and were missing shots. So, well, I don't know, Michigan, maybe this is what they needed. Maybe this is a little, kick in the butt, and they can be like, all right, let's go. Let's roll into March.
We might see it. Who knows? And Jared set it up right. I mean, that was a very entertaining game, and I sat there and watched every bit of it, and I just enjoyed it. The pace of the game was just awesome. I know your team, Jared, the 2013 team, was there with Beeline, honored. And then the other thing about that game, I don't know if it'll continue on, if the hate is over. I doubt it. But for one night, it was very cool to see that, the rivals came together. They played hard, but, it wasn't that hatred because of the situation at Michigan State about a week ago.
Yeah, I like the sentiment. It's going to be back come football season.
Yeah, I know.
Football season. The rest of the basketball season, maybe they'll keep it amicable. Football season is going to be right back to maybe not tunnel fights like last year, but not far off. I mean, it's just football just seems like a different beast right now. But yeah, it was cool to see all the tributes and everything like that. Very cool.
It was.
And it was fun seeing all those guys from the 2013 team back. It was also kind of funny to see who wasn't there. Mitch McGarry. From last I heard, he's got like a dispensary or something in Michigan. It was funny to see all these like pro players there, but yeah, Mitch McGarry couldn't make an appearance. I don't know what the deal is with that. Read into it what you will. Maybe they're not the biggest fans of him, I guess, or something. But it was cool seeing all those guys. And I saw that afterward they interviewed them all, and Beeline basically said, they need to retire Burke's jersey, Stauskas' jersey, and Hardaway's jersey. And I agree with it. I mean, that team, man, it was
Stacks.
such a fun tournament run. That's everything that was right about college basketball. And I tweeted it out last night. I mean, you look at that team, it was 5-6 pros on that team. First rounders. Karis LeVert was like the sixth man. He's a very good pro in the NBA. And it's like you look at those two teams playing last night. It's just a totally different sport nowadays. So that really was the golden era of college basketball, in my opinion, was right around that stretch, 2005 to about 2015 or so.
Yeah,
and that team was the best of them all.
I saw a clip of Trey Burke last night, it was like last night. He even said the same thing, basically, that you just said, that like he didn't realize it when they were in it, how good it was. Like when you're playing, you're just like, yeah, I got a good team. But then, you look back and it's like, yeah, we had like 8 NBA players on this roster, and we were making, a run to the national championship, winning Big Ten tournaments. I mean, he was National Player of the Year. Beeline was one of the best coaches in the country at the time. So that 4 or 5 year stretch for Michigan, Kostauskas stayed, a year later than him, and they were still really good. That was some good Michigan basketball, man. And Michigan State was really good during that stretch too. So, you take it for granted a little bit. So it's it did make me think, not to like make football basketball, but it kind of made me think, like, trying to appreciate what Michigan football is right now. We're upset that they lost in the playoff, the last couple of years, but we remember the dark days of Michigan football. So it's kind of like, this is good right now. This is good.
Absolutely. Those damn crooks from Louisville, damn it.
Oh, God.
I'll tell you, watching that game, wasn't that something else, seeing Spike just completely on fire in that first half? How enjoyable was that?
That tournament run, I've watched that Trey Burke shot against Kansas at least 100 times, probably. I mean, that tournament run was just incredible. So cool. Spike hitting those shots, and then the stupid block that should have been clean. I mean, who knows if they would have won the game after that, but
it was, I mean, you losing the championship, it is what it is. I mean, it sucked. That was probably the most defeated I've ever been after a sporting event, was after that game. I remember had school the very next morning. God, it was a rough night. But no, what I love about that run,
when the Mo Wagner team lost in the title game to Villanova, that was just a blowout. Yeah. Villanova was just like incredible. Louisville, it was like, no, Michigan should have won that game. No, that Michigan team was a national championship team. Just couldn't get it done.
Exactly. But what I loved about that team, man, and this is love this deep dive. Just the thing that makes tournament runs magical is when you have a stud point guard, and that's what Michigan had. Trey Burke, ball in his hands with the clock going down. That's who you wanted. And I mean, the Kansas game, you have to circle that. I mean, what an incredible game that was. Then you had the fun Final Four game with Florida, Nick Stauskas making 6 threes or whatever it was. It was a blast. And that was the golden era. Like I said, I mean, we'll never have anything like it again. Even if we have a team that maybe makes to a championship game or something like that, it just never will be the same level of basketball that we saw back then.
Yeah, 100% agree. And also, keeping it on basketball, we're recording this on Sunday night. The All-Star game's going on, and Jared, we were doing that text trail. I never even heard of this Max McClung guy, but my goodness, what a story that is! That's the first I've even heard his name.
Yeah, he's one of the, I mean, viral. It's been around for a while, but he was very viral. I guess, with his high school, mixtapes and everything. Jared, you definitely remember all his highlight films and stuff. I mean, he ended up being a decent college player, but he seemed like he was going to be one of those dudes that was just a YouTube sensation, but he was actually like a pretty good basketball player. I mean, he's on an NBA roster, so I mean, he's actually, pretty good, obviously. But no, his dunks, he put on a show. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm going to say this because, and it's funny that Ted says he doesn't know who he was, because what was annoying me during this entire dunk contest was how Shaq said it right before they did the final championship round. Whoever the sideline reporter said it, where it was basically like, no one knows who you are. Really? Dude, he's the only guy that I knew in this dunk contest. He's the only guy I knew. Kenyon Martin Jr., Jericho Sims. I mean, let me just talk about Jericho Sims for a second. What the hell was that performance? 2 elbow in the rim dunks. And his final dunk, where he had the envelope and he had to unwrap it, was maybe the cringiest thing I'd ever seen. It was the worst dunk in the world. It took him like 30 seconds to get the thing unwrapped. Nobody was cheering. Whoever his like yes men were that were previewing his dunks before, in training camp or whatever, and said those are going to win you this thing. They deserve to be penalized, man. What was that? Mac McClung, though, people are complaining about him, being a G leaguer in the dunk contest. I don't care. He made me watch. Right. And guess what? He was the one that they had close it out in the rounds 1 and 2, and then at the end as well, because he was the biggest star in the entire thing. Ted, I can't believe you've never heard of this guy. I mean, I saw you tweeted out his highlights. That must have blown your mind watching his high school.
It did, because now, hey, give this boomer a break, man. I can't keep up on all these young kids and their high school tapes, for God's sakes. But and here's it's the NBA dunk contest, so give me a little bit of slack. But impressive as can be, man. Yeah, and I see what you're talking about from that highlight reel that I retweeted. Pretty impressive.
He's a player, and like I said, he had a decent career. He played at Texas Tech, and he played a second place too. But
he started at Georgetown, then transferred to Texas Tech.
Yeah, then he went to Texas Tech, and he was pretty good at Texas Tech. But the dunk contest thing, like, I think it's become one of those things where, like, halftime shows, we talk about it with halftime shows, with other things like that, even just like movies or whatever. People are just going to hate on everything and talk about it was so much better back in my day, or it was so much better. And then all they think about are like maybe the Michael Jordan Dominique, or like some of the Spud Webb, or some of the very, very top, the ones that are the legendary ones. But it's like overall, if you look at some of the old dunk contest tapes, they were doing the most generic dunks ever. I mean, yes, Michael Jordan did some legendary stuff. Dominique Wilkins. Yep. Spud Webb was only 5'3" or whatever he was. Awesome. That's legendary stuff. But like overall, that's not like what it was all the time. Overall, some of these dunk contests were pretty pitiful. And like dudes nowadays, the envelope thing, or they're trying to jump over cars, or, like they're putting on costumes. They're just trying to like do something different. You know what I mean? So like the people that are hating, it's like, come on, man. Like what would you do are you just going to go out there and try and do a dunk? You're going to try and do something different. You're going to try and think of something cool that's going to go viral. You're going to try and think of something that's going to be like the next thing everyone talks about with the dunk contest. Sometimes it doesn't work, like the envelope thing this year. Didn't work. But, if he pulled it off, maybe that would have been the coolest thing ever. But, if you can jump like McClung, then you just go out there and try and pull off a 540 or 720, see what happens.
Yeah, that's what's funny. He's 5'11", man. It's crazy.
Wow.
And if I was advising these guys, we saw with some of these other dunks these guys are doing, Kenny Martin Jr., where they're like, they're getting crazy hang time, but you can't really qualify it. You can't quantify it, excuse me. Mm-hmm. So just bring out somebody and jump over them. I mean, it's not rocket science. That always makes you like watch when you see them bring out somebody. Even Mac McClung, where they had like his very first dunk where he had a guy like on another guy's shoulders in like a hilarious position. I mean, he's fun to watch, and I'm rooting for him. I mean, people that were NBA players like Draymond at one point during it, he had the sweetest dunk of the night. And first thing Draymond says, "Why is he using a G League ball? Why does he get to use a G League ball?" Right. Well, for one, at one point, Kenyon Martin Jr. used a ball that looked like it came from the Death Star that was all black and like see-through. And two, it's not even any difference. Same, just it's got a different logo on it. I mean, I love Draymond. Right. He's going to be great, when he does step off the court, whatever he does. But just an idiotic comment at that point. You could just tell he was salty that this G League guy was stealing the show.
Are you guys both on board with, and I'm not going to say I'm a grumpy old man. I'll roll with the flow, the changes in the All-Star game and, the dunk contest and everything. But my thought on the dunk contest, what it used to be like, maybe they weren't quite as spectacular dunks, but the stars participated. Right. Now the stars don't give a damn. They don't participate. They hang around and basically have a party while they watch the other guys dunk.
Yeah, that's definitely one difference. A lot of times, the stars would be in the ones in the 80s and 90s. Not all of them. Like I ended up going back and looking at the contestants, and it wasn't all stars. Like maybe the top two but then the rest of the people contesting were like, man, who are some of these guys? But obviously, LeBron's never done it, or Zion is yet to do it. Zion would be one that everyone wants to see Zion do it. Other people like that. Kobe did it once, and won it. But so he at least had that mark. But that is definitely a hand up. That is one difference. The stars nowadays, they don't really seem to care. about doing the dunk contest. I still enjoy all the All-Star stuff. I'm not going to act like I've watched every single minute of everything from All-Star weekend, but the All-Star game's on right now. It's entertaining. The first 3 quarters or whatever, it is ridiculous. There's no defense, but it's fun. These dudes are just out there, throwing alley-oops and jacking up 50-foot shots and stuff,
Right.
Once they lock it down in the fourth quarter or however they do it, they do the Elon scoring thing or whatever. That actually gets very entertaining, but I like the All-Star game. I like it.
I do too. I love it. And I love the All-Star, the dunk contest is always a must-watch event for me. I watch it every year. I love it. As for the one thing I will complain about with All-Star weekend, I think we all are in agreement here. I think everybody in the world's in agreement. The skills competition. This is the worst event that's ever been made.
Yeah.
Why is it still a thing? One thing I tell you what, the boomers had right, the pig competition way back in the day, Pistol Pete, and guys of that ilk, bring it back. I'll fix it right now.
Yeah.
You got 4 guys in this pig tournament. 2 guys play each other, 2 guys play each other, 2 guys play in the championship. Maybe it takes another 15, 20 minutes to get it done at the All-Star weekend, but it is what it is. I mean, that is like a half-baked idea, and I still think it's way better than whatever the heck that was last night, where one of the teams was Team Antetokounmpo, and Giannis wasn't even playing.
Right.
Why is that a team? I mean, good God, man. Right. That needs to be solved.
Yeah, that could go away. I like 3-point contest is cool.
That's
Dunk contest is cool. And then, if you're into like the Rising Stars or the celebrity game, those are kind of fun or whatever. But as far as skills competition can go. If they want to throw pig in, okay. But 3-point shootout and dunk contest. Those are the only 2 you really need to me.
Last thing on the All-Star game, guys. Are you on board with the whole way they've changed things around with the draft and the 2 captains, drafting the players? You like that?
I think it's fun. Yeah, I like it. It makes it fun. And I just wish we were talking. I wish they would start it a little earlier. Is the only thing. But I think it just makes it fun. It brings out a little personality. You get to see them. It makes you think about when you played at elementary school recess or whatever, picking teams or whatever. But I don't know. It doesn't like make or break it for me, but it is fun.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about it this year is they did the whole schoolyard drafting. Right before the game starts, they drafted the teams. So no, I love it. I got no problems with the All-Star game. They play hard in the fourth quarter. So what else can you want? Have fun the rest of the 3 quarters and just get your popcorn out.
You got it, man. All right, let's wrap up this podcast with a little bit of Tedertainment tonight. Coming up right after this. All right, guys, I got just a couple things here for you. I watched another Oscar-nominated movie on Netflix. I don't know if you've already seen it or haven't seen it. All Quiet on the Western Front. It's an old title. It's that movie. It's probably the 3rd or 4th time it's been remade. This time, I think it was a German production. But we all watched Saving Private Ryan, and this movie had about 3 or 4 battle scenes that were about as intense as that first scene in Saving Private Ryan. So that part, I got to give it high praise. It was well done. The fight scenes were just unbelievable. The story was good. I could see why it was nominated for an Oscar. So if you're looking for something to watch that's intense, check it out. All Quiet on the Western Front. It's on Netflix right now.
Is it the book All Quiet on the Western Front? Is it?
Yeah, pretty much follows the book completely. Did you have to read that in school or something? Or did you just read
actually, I enjoyed that book. It was a good read.
Yeah. Also, one other thing I got, you guys listen to podcasts periodically other than our own. And, some people will come up to me and they'll talk to me and say, I was listening to this podcast and I have no idea what they're talking about. It's probably interesting because they're bringing it up to me. But, I'm a pretty simple guy. I like my entertainment stuff. And, I talked about the podcast I was listening to with Dana Carvey and David Spade, the behind the scenes thing with Saturday Night Live. Well, this one has been out quite a long time, but I was a huge Office fan. You guys Office fans?
Yeah.
And Pam Beasley and Angela they host this one, the characters, and it's deep dive into every episode. I think I'm up to about episode 5 or 6 right now. I think it just got through the first season. It's well done, man. They tell you all kinds of behind the scenes things, and it's a quick listen, and they have a great chemistry. If you're looking for something new, something in the entertainment world, if you were the Office fan, I recommend this. It was very entertaining.
Yeah. I haven't listened to whole episodes. I've heard clips, and multiple coworkers and friends talk about listening to that too, because they were big Office fans. So I need to check it out sometime.
You need to. Well, it's not even the best. Kevin Malone, I'm drawing a blank on his name, has a podcast, same premise, way
same
better.
thing.
Yeah,
it's way better. Okay.
Yes. Way behind the scenes, how the Office created, it's just so much better edited. It's awesome.
So you've listened. You've listened to this one, then you're saying you've listened.
Yeah, I've listened to them both.
Okay,
yeah, that one is the premier Office podcast if you're looking for that.
All right, I'll take a listen.
Couple of things from me on Tedertainment tonight. One, I'll just give my quick review of The Full Swing. If you remember, I've been typing it up for a while on Netflix. It was solid. I think Rory McIlroy is probably the big winner in this. He came across really well. Brooks Koepka, probably the biggest loser. He just came across like a dope, man. I like Koepka. I've always liked him, but it's just every time they talk to him, it's like he didn't know who the Masters champion was that year. He had to think about it for like a couple minutes. There's one sequence where he's like, the whole thing is about how he's playing bad. He's been playing bad. Can't get out of his head. He's in his head the whole time. And one of the sequences, it's like his wife or fiance, I guess, Jenna Sims, is like trying on all these different outfits, like wanting his opinion. And I mean, I guess we've all been there. He's given like one word answers to like everything she's trying on. And then they just they do him dirty with the edit. They like bring in his like interview underneath. Like, yeah, sometimes, Jenna or whoever's talking, and I'm just like, I can't even think about it. I'm just thinking about my golf swing, what I got to do to fix my golf swing. So I thought those two guys were kind of the big winners and losers. I didn't like how they edited it. It was kind of weird. So they basically did 8 episodes following a different person for each 8 episodes. And because of that, it's like they would go back to like the Waste Management Open 3 or 4 times throughout the series. And by the second time, you already knew who won it. You already knew the whole storyline. It was just kind of bizarre how it was done. I don't know if I could have done it better. Probably not, obviously. But it just was, I didn't like how they did that. I wish they would have just gone serial throughout the entire PGA season. Whatever stories they had to tell, segmented at each portion, they could have done that. It just was weird to me how they edited it. And what it really just kind of showed me and what I always talk about, Last Chance U. I mean, it's the standard for sports docuseries. I mean, they're just so good storytellers. When you're watching a Last Chance U episode, it feels like you're watching a movie for 45 minutes. When you were watching this, it felt like you were watching like a music video or something for 45 minutes, just all the quick cuts, and you don't really know what's going on half the time. You're in a story for 2 minutes, then you're quickly jumping. So I liked it. I mean, I watched all of it, in a few days. So I can't crap on it too hard, but I just was expecting a little bit more. So
I've seen some mixed reviews too, that some people even saying they would not recommend it just because of kind of what you said. I mean, it wasn't the behind the scenes stories about the PGA and stuff like that. Like what I think what people were hoping for, but I think for golf junkies who really like the players and stuff like that, I'm sure it'll come off all right. But a little disappointing because I was excited for it too. And when I started, your review and hearing some other reviews, I was kind of like, I actually don't know if I'm going to watch this now.
Fingers crossed on the new one with Damon and Affleck, the Nike story. You think that's going to be good? Have you heard any pre-reviews?
I think with the cast alone and the story,
right?
I would think Jordan was probably involved at least, so it's as accurate, as they can do with the story. So I think it has all the potential in the world. I guess we'll see, but
yeah, the cast is what has me holding off hope. I just doubt that all the Damon, Affleck, Bateman, that they would all attach their name to something that's not going to be good. That's my hope. The trailer, at first I thought it looked awesome. The more and more I've seen it, I don't know. It seems like they're not really talking to Michael Jordan at all throughout it. They're talking to his parents, which you just know that's not how that situation went down. I don't even need to read a book or know anything about it. It's definitely was probably Michael Jordan and his manager, not his parents, like dealing with whether or not he was going to sign with Nike or not. So I just think that's kind of funny. That's been a very prevalent part of each trailer.
Yeah.
So no,
I guess that's my thing. Like I'd be curious if that wasn't the case. Like I would think like if they're going to do this movie, they're going to do it as accurate as they can. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
You would
like
think so.
Like if they're going to make it like they had to deal with Jordan's parents the whole time for this, negotiation, I would think that would be how it went down. Like they wouldn't lie about, or otherwise Jordan's going to come out with his own movie and bash everything that they did, So,
or it just seems like we saw with Showtime. I mean, they had nailed the Magic Johnson casting in that HBO show. I mean, it's not impossible to cast a Michael Jordan character in this. So it's just weird that we haven't seen him in any of the trailers. Yeah, he's a pretty big part of that story about him and signing with Nike. So it'd just be weird if he wasn't really in it.
Yeah, they should have casted Michael B. Jordan. Use him.
Yeah. Right. I got one more final thing for Tedertainment tonight. This is dating back to last week. Ted, if you remember, you had the totally crazy comment that Garth Brooks should be the next halftime performer at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The more and more I think about that, it's still just jarring. I mean, who is he going to bring out as his like special guest? I mean, Conway Twitty sing "That's My Job." I can't get over that. And you asked us who we would have as our halftime show, so I just made a quick list 5 minutes before we recorded this. Number one, like we talked about last week, Taylor Swift.
Right.
Number two, Drake. He's got so many hits. People will say, "Oh, maybe not. He's a hip hop guy, rap." If you really go down Drake's catalog, he rivals anyone, maybe ever. Yep. A lot of hits, a lot of songs with billions of views on YouTube. He definitely has the catalog to pull it off. Number three, we talked about him as well, Justin Bieber. He's been popular for a long time now, like 13 years, I believe. He's kind of been in the spotlight. So he's had a few different phases of his career, and he's still stayed popular. And his music has continued to be good. Girls would love it. Some guys would love it. I would be somewhat of a fan of it. So let's have Bieber perform. And then Post Malone, he just performed, before pregame of this All-Star game. Ted, you love Post Malone.
That was good.
I listened to him on a Sunday morning on Siri for like an hour to figure out what the kids were into way back when. He's great. Puts on a great show. So that's my four.
I enjoyed the whatever song it was he sang there at the All-Star game. That's pretty good. Whatever it was.
Yeah, that's a good list. I know a friend of the podcast, Craig, he has always said Jonas Brothers should be doing a halftime show, and they probably have enough hits. They could pull off a halftime show. I think it'd be cool. Some throwbacks, they had the hip hop throwbacks, with Eminem and Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre last year. If they came out with a boy band throwback and had like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, that might break everything. Just because everyone's been waiting for them to like do a throwback tour or something.
New Kids on the Block too.
New Kids on the Block. That could be something that would be pretty cool.
Let me jump back in here.
Your list is pretty solid, though. I
gotta jump back in for a second, though. Let's just say, for example, they did go with Garth Brooks for us old boomers. No, so why wouldn't they have country? Is there other country artists? Who would you throw out there? It's one of the biggest genres of music.
I guess it would be, Tim McGraw probably would be a part of that. Like Faith Hill.
So you put him ahead of Garth Brooks?
Had a country act for halftime? I don't know if I ever remember it.
Well, that's why I'm just bringing it up,
I'm not sure.
Country music probably is the number one genre throughout the country.
They don't put on a show, though. They don't.
I feel like if they went country, it would have to be one of the newer country artists, like a Luke Combs, like a Morgan Wallen, even someone people don't even count them as country, but someone like a Florida Georgia Line that like puts on a great show. Garth Brooks is a legend, of course. But all he's going to do is stand up there with his guitar and just strum it and sing. Like, that's not really like a Super Bowl halftime show.
I think you're shortchanging the guy, man.
No, you're stuck in what was it, Central Park, like 2002 or whatever, that big concert.
And these country music festivals down in Nashville, man, they put on a show. So I don't know. I'm speaking up for the country fans out there.
No, I'm with you. I'm not disagreeing. I would just be curious how good of a show it would be. You know what I mean?
Well,
because people want to see
show.
People want to see
kind of a young person thing. I mean, you got to have all these dancers and stuff to entertain people, or can you play good music and put on a little bit of a show? I don't know.
I think for the Super Bowl halftime show, I think it has to. It's become something. It's almost more entertainment.
Okay,
at least to me, because even think about last year's show with all the hip hop artists. they could have just gone out there and stood up on stage and rapped, but they had all the different stages they went to. They had a car, they had all the dancers and all the different areas that they were going to.
Country artist's version of a show is what Garth Brooks did in Detroit, throwing on a Barry Sanders jersey and calling it good. That's what their version of a show is, man.
All right. I guess I'm just heading to the graveyard, you know. What can I tell you? Fair enough, though. That's why
it'd be interesting anyway.
That's why we have this podcast. We got 3 different generations. All the old geezers like me are saying, "Yeah, I agree with you, Ted." But the majority of our listeners are saying, "Man, Ted, you're crazy." So we'll leave it at that.
Hank Williams, Conway Twitty, and
Conway Twitty. That's the comment that's the comment of the night.
I will say real quick. I watched last week's Last of Us, and you weren't kidding about the zombies in that one. This show is fantastic.
It is.
I can't wait for each new episode. It's just great.
Yeah, well, you're gonna watch the All-Star game tonight and catch up on it, right?
Yeah, that's what I'll say. It's kind of a tough. I think I'll save Last of Us for tomorrow night. I mean, you got to watch the All-Star game tonight.
Amen. All right, guys, let's bail out of here. I know, Matt, you were looking at the TV. I was looking at the TV. Jared's looking at the TV. And one thing I noticed, absolutely zero defense. There's just dunks and layups and easy open jumpers, which is what we expected.
Still the first half.
That's right. All right, everybody. This has been the 3 Point Podcast presented by Memorial Healthcare's Now Community Wellness Center and Skymint Cannabis. Skymint Cannabis, farm to stash, grown right here in Michigan. Beautiful new grow processing facility at the former Summit building in Diamonddale, over 15 locations throughout the state of Michigan. Check out their new Skymint Reserve. And if you're over 21, go online at skymint.com. Check out all the latest deals out there. New customers at Corona, stop into the store, use the coupon code 3.20, 20% off Skymint products. And Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center, just a great place. They're over 1,000 members now, growing every single day. Guys, remember, put those towels on, but learn more by going online at memorialhealthcare.org. Commitment, compassion for life, providing care for you since 1921. We also want to thank AZEE Printing Solutions, Capital Sports Fieldhouse, Crow Real Estate and Auction, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. Jared, have a safe trip. I know you got a couple free days out there, don't you? Going to hang by the pool or anything, or is it a little too cool?
No, I mean, it's perfect temperature here. I'm still in boot camp, man. Been going for the walks and getting the workouts in, sauna and up. That's about it. So nothing else really on the agenda.
Sounds good. Also remember Z92.5's Game of the Week coming up Friday, February 24th, Fowlerville at St. John's. And until next time, so long, everybody. Peace and love. Be kind. Thanks for listening.